How do you like your cheese? Sharp, creamy, on crackers, and fondue? There are as many ways to enjoy it as there are cheeses. Behind those cheeses, though, are artisans, cheesemakers who have taken the labor-intensive process from the animal producing the milk to the finished product on our tables. I'm Courtney Drake McDonough, publisher and managing editor of RealFoodTraveler.com and host of the Real Food Traveler podcast. I met my guest, Ashley Grant, who's the owner and operator of Bountiful Boards, recently when I was in Green Bay, Wisconsin, having a cheese tasting at her shop. I was so impressed by her business and the very deliberate intention behind the products she carries, I asked her to tell all of you about it. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's start with an overall description of what your business is and what you do.
So, Bountiful Boards, we're Green Bay's cheese shop. We specialize in bringing in unique items from around the world, obviously, a ton from right here in Wisconsin, as we have one of the very best dairy making states in the US here. And we have a specialty in pre ordered charcuterie boards. So, I'll play with your food before you eat it, basically.
And how did the business come to be?
I was a stay at home mom for 15 years and have always loved food. And COVID hit. And I started, of course, what you do during COVID and lockdown was, I'm going to change my entire life. And I started doing the charcuterie boards out of my home, actually, just thinking friends and family would be ordering. And about a month in, I'm like, no, I need to probably do this legitimately, as I'm getting way more phone calls than what I had anticipated. I opened up in my small space where a public market here in Green Bay, and was just doing charcuterie. The other cheese shop here in town, Alan is his name, who ran that for years and years. He was retiring, and that was where I was getting all of my cheese from for my boards. And when he retired, he was like, here's all my distributors' information. These are the people I would reach out to. He was super helpful in all of that, and helped me reach out to people I needed to. And I kind of just organically continued to grow. I started selling more and more retail cheese because not having a cheese shop in Green Bay, Wisconsin makes literally zero sense. That's where the home of the Green Bay Packers and cheeseheads. And so it's just kind of fallen. As I tell a lot of my friends, there has been a stone rolling downhill, and I am just trying to keep up with the momentum of it and continue to expand and bring more unique items. And over time, I took over the market with another small woman-owned business here inside with me, and we've continued to offer things to the community through classes. We bring in other small businesses, allow them to do classes here. We do small markets where we bring in lots of other small local vendors as well, and just try to be as helpful for other small businesses as we possibly can.
Well, awesome. I was there with a group of other journalists when we got to meet you and have your cheese tasting. What really intrigued me was a comment you made about emphasizing small cheesemakers and companies that have a great story. And at Real Food Traveler, we're all about, really great stories. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you. So can you expand upon both of those aspects?
Absolutely. So our goal here is to bring in unique items that you can't find anywhere else, which basically is going to be like in the mass produced grocery stores. Um, we wanted to carry things that you couldn't find there, right? And in searching out those types of makers, you end up finding a lot of the smaller ones who, Blakesville Creamery, who's out of Port Washington area. They started off with 40 goats. They raise the animals, milk the animals, produce the cheese themselves. They have won countless awards now, but they are this very small maker out of Port Washington, and we just fell in love with their products. None of the local grocers were carrying their stuff because it's a little bit more artisanal. It's handmade, so it's going to add cost. There's a whole bunch of steps that go into making this cheese. It's not just milk's being poured into a vat, the machines do their job, and then there's a label slapped on it by a different machine down the line, and then they send it out. There's love and craftsmanship, and it's in cheese, there's so much science behind it, so they're running experiments and coming up with new flavors and new ideas. And it's a really cool thing to see. And when I started getting further and further into this role, I continued to try to seek out those who were doing just beautiful, unique things that hadn't really been done. Or one of the makers we use is Union Star Dairy. We bring in their fresh string cheese every single week. People are absolutely in love with it. It's kind of our solution to the fresh cheese curd. We wanted to do something different because everyone from the grocery stores to the quick trips are going to have cheese curds available. And we bring in washed rind cheeses from them. We bring in their 4-year aged cheddar, and their, I think we bring in 4 or 5 of their cheeses at this point, and 4 out of the 5 are some of our top sellers over and over again. But it's such a small company that I was driving 3 hours there and back, usually once or twice a month, to go and pick up cheese. We started doing the fresh mozzarella string cheese. So now they at least meet me about halfway. So I don't have to go as far. But they didn't have distribution up this way yet because, again, they were such a small creamery, such a small maker. John Metzig, who's the main cheese maker for Union Star, has become a good friend. I try to help promote his stuff as much as possible. I've kind of gotten into trying to help at least broker for some small grocers and some of these distributors that I'm dealing with directly, and suggesting, for them to please reach out to John. He's an amazing cheese maker. People aren't aware of his stuff. It's, the most popular cheese in our shop here in Green Bay, and 99% of the people are like, where is this dairy? Where is Fremont, Wisconsin? How did you find these guys? But our intention is always just to locate these people who are pouring not only themselves into their cheese making process, but they're also trying to create a beautiful community around them of their employees and the people that they're trying to sell their cheese to. They're very specific about where their product is going and how it's represented. And, we do our best to promote it in a way that is truly a reflection of who they are as cheesemakers and as people. And finding those small makers is just something that we're very passionate about. It makes it very fun as well, because then I'm getting to drive all over Wisconsin, which Wisconsin's a beautiful state. People don't realize, I think, how beautiful it is here. So it's truly a joy for me to be able to be like, okay, I need to go on a little excursion, go find some more small creameries, guys. I'll see you later.
So is it mostly that you're going out and seeking them, or do you have some of them coming to you and saying, "Hey, would you carry our products?"
I have a mix. I definitely get a mix of things. There's some that I intentionally go and seek out. With Union Star, actually, the gentleman who owned the cheese shop here in town prior, Alan, had dropped off a wheel of their Red Willow. It's this washed rind cheese. It's got a beautiful red orange molding on the outside. It's one of my absolute favorite cheeses. It's like a butter on the inside. And he delivered it to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Alan, you need to tell me how I get more of this cheese in my life now. So it's a lot of little things like that. Someone mentioned something, but I also get contacted from different people. And, there's been some places that have reached out, and I'm like, I love what you're doing, and I'm happy for who you guys are and how you're growing, but it's not the best fit for our shop. We really try to make sure that every cheese that we're bringing in is intentional and has the standard of quality to the practice in making it.
Okay. And you know so much about cheese. It just hit me. How do you know so much about cheese, or was it kind of learning on the job?
It's honestly been learning on the job, and I can nerd out really, really hard on
Okay.
cheese. I just find it so interesting. And there's books and books and books of information that I do not yet know on cheese. And, I'm just trying to consume as much knowledge on it as I possibly can. I try to put myself into situations, going to different seminars and to different, large shows that are featuring different makers, and they will walk through like, this is how I do this, or this is why I do this. And I think, especially with you having this podcast and talking to all of these people, I'm sure you can, verify that anytime you talk to someone who is incredibly passionate about what they do and why they do it, it's interesting to have a conversation with them, because you're going to find that same passion in yourself through listening to their stories and their experiences through it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. You talked a little bit about the space you're in and your roommate, for lack of a better word, and some of the activities. Can you tell us a little bit about her, because we got to meet her, and a little bit more about some of the activities, because somebody who's just visiting Green Bay may walk in on any given day and see some of these activations in process. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the building I'm in, it's called the Revolution Public Market. Super Day Green Bay is the other small business in here. Her and I run the market together. She specializes in making homemade soups, salads, wraps. All of her beef comes from her nephew's farm in Crivets, Wisconsin. She roasts it all herself. So she's very passionate about her job and her cooking, and she's kind of like a crazy soup genius, is what I call her. She'll come back and she's like, I'm going to make this Czechoslovakian soup, and there's beef in it, and there's cornichons in it. And I'm like, you sound nuts. And then I try it, and I'm like, this is brilliant. So it's very fun. She feeds me quite frequently, which I enjoy. And together we do again, a lot of classes where I'll do charcuterie making classes, cheese making classes. We've done mozzarella making classes before. We'll bring in other small businesses. We've done stuff with a watercolor company here in the area. The gal who owns it is a child psychiatrist. So all of her watercolor things have all these beautiful messages. So we've had her come in a few times now. She hosts a watercolor class. I provide charcuterie. Everyone hangs out in our space. And then in the market itself, we do a lot of, like, actually today we have a family fun market on Fridays. Through the summertime, we bring in other small local businesses, local produce stands. We bring in knife sharpening gals. We bring in people who are doing candle making, jewelry making, anyone that's got a small business that is doing it very similar to, the cheesemakers. We try to specialize with anyone doing it passionately and with just beautiful intention. We love to have them come in, pottery makers, and showcase what they're creating, and hope, that their star will rise along with our star, right? We try to build each other up in this small business community. It's one of my favorite parts about starting this small business after being a stay-at-home mom for all those years. You're completely unaware of this community until you're thrust into it, and there's just so much positivity and help and inspiration from all these other small businesses. So it's a really fun thing for us to be able to give these people a space to come in, showcase their products, see if it's something that, they might want to expand into a full shop of their own one day, or, whatever their path is leading forward for them. But we really try to do a lot of family friendly. Obviously, in Green Bay, family is kind of the MO in this town. It's an amazing place to live. And we do painting stations for our family afternoons here. We had t-shirts printed up so all these kids can paint these t-shirts. The thought is they're washable paints. They can wash them off. They can take it home, paint it again. Doesn't hurt that it has all of our logos on it. So we're like, wear the shirt wherever you can, kids. Um, so it's a really cool community. Inside of the actual building, we have two other businesses, two other suites in the building with us. Solani Lawn, they're another woman-owned business. Michaela Marie Sweets, she studied in Paris. She makes the most delectable macarons and cookies and cakes, and I get to incorporate them into my boards and the grazing tables I create for people. And it's a really great community of businesses here in the shop.
That's lovely. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
It hit me too that, a few years ago, you were a stay-at-home mom and then you had this idea for this business and it's really taken off. I mean, it's a full-fledged thing. Has it kind of been shocking to you and a big adjustment to go from being a stay-at-home mom, which I mean, you're still a full-time mom, and now on top of this full-time business. So how has that adjustment been?
Honestly, I've had so much support from my family. My husband, it was actually his idea. We were having coffee one morning, and he was like, you should try selling charcuterie boards to some people. That might be really fun for you. And I was like, that's a great idea. And since then, I mean, he could not be more supportive. Sometimes actually embarrassing how supportive he is. But my kids are amazing. My oldest, who's 17, he's got a job as well, but he will come in and help out in the shop whenever I need it. My middle son, him and his buddies came in. They're offering to help out, obviously to be paid. He's like, "Hey, what can I do for a 20?" And my daughter, who's 9, and the only one of my children who like cheese. I made a mistake somewhere along the way. I'm not sure where, but she actually likes cheese and she will come in. She does events with me as well. And she can speak on a lot of these cheeses. And she actually was here with me yesterday. I was on the phone, so she was helping these two gentlemen were in town from one was from Texas, one was from Florida, and they were looking for cheese from Wisconsin. And she's walking them around and showing them the case. And it's kind of given my whole family a new perspective on life and what you can do. And my kids have seen how you build a small business and the work that goes into it, and the positive effects of just the confidence that you build in starting this. And I actually was just at a leadership seminar this morning from a local Green Bay business. It's like 200 people in attendance and 1,000 more online watching. And just the overall messaging of your attitude basically was the conversation today, and having a positive attitude and seeing where you want to be in the future and how you move through the small business world. And a lot of it is through attitude and through support. And I've just had so much of that from my family, from my friends, through the small business community that I've met. I'm part of a small business group here in the area. And I mean, I probably reference them at least once or twice a week, and people are helping me. I actually have a dear friend. She's an employee here who was struggling with some things going on with her family, and she was looking for solutions, wasn't able to find any. And I, talked to my small business group, and I'm like, "This is what we're looking for, you guys." 3 different people reached out to me, immediately offering help and assistance, and we think we found a solution for her and her family. And it's there's so much help and so much positivity in this small business world that in my opinion, it's super infectious. It's amazing, not only for myself but for my family as well.
That's wonderful. That's great. I'd like to be able to give our listeners and our readers a little takeaway from you until they can come see you in person, which I definitely recommend they do. But speaking just for me, but I think I'm speaking for a lot of other people too, when we go to put together a charcuterie board, when we're having people over or whatever, it's really intimidating.
Hmm.
There are all these meats and all these crackers and certainly all these cheeses and little extra nibbles like almonds and raisins and things, and that you can put with them. And I
Yeah.
see boards like yours and even just non-business people who just know how to put it together, and I am so not that person. What are some easy tips you can give us for, when we go into a shop like yours, knowing, what do I put with what?
So what's great about charcuterie is you can basically make it to whatever your palate is. I always tell people when I'm hosting charcuterie demonstrations and classes, put on the board what you, your friends, and your family love to eat. If you guys love sharp cheeses, if you love something with a little bit of funk to it, if you want people to try something new, um, have fun with what you're putting on there. There's no rhyme or reason of what can or cannot be on a board. I've done everything from breakfast boards to vegan boards, crudité platters. Basically, the main thing to put on there is stuff that you and your family and friends love. If you were looking for just like a basic understanding of what I like to put on a board, usually it's 3 to 5 cheeses. Three typically works unless it's a very large group. And I always try to do something with at least one different type of milk, whether that's goat or sheep, just to add a little bit of diversity to the flavor, to where the milk is coming from. I try to do a mix of hard and soft cheeses. And then with the fruits and the vegetables, I mean, grapes are obviously a great thing to put on. 99% of my boards are going to have them. The only time I will not is if you go to the store and those grapes are squishy. I want nothing to do with those squishy grapes. But grapes are beautiful. Cucumbers, broccoli, sugar snap peas, bell peppers, whatever vegetable you love, a dip, a pickled item. Um, I mean, you can add in anything you want. And the pièce de resistance, the thing that always gets people's attention on my board specifically, and always kind of blows people out of the way. I'll do my class and I'll finish putting all of the food on the plate, and I'm like, "So it looks pretty, right?" And like, "Yeah, it looks pretty." And I'm like, "Doesn't look great, right?" They're like, "Yeah, it's missing something." Fresh flowers, fresh herbs, will elevate any board. It's going to add a pop of color, and it's going to make people pause and go, oh my gosh, can I eat this? Is this meant to be a display, or is this meant to be eaten? Adding in those flowers just adds a really beautiful and unique twist on something that not a lot of people are going to do. When I'm at home, actually, I'll go outside and I'll like take bits of ferns from outside of my property, flowers or fresh mint that I have growing out in my garden, and I just add those in, and it again adds that beautiful texture and that beautiful pop of color.
Yep, those are great tips. Thank you for that. I
Yeah.
feel like I can go after this now. So I didn't realize that I always thought you really had to kind of think what cheeses are going to go with what meats and, sort of a wine pairing sort of thing. But it sounds like you're saying no, you don't really have to worry about that.
I don't typically, because I'm going to add so many elements onto that platter that there's going to be things that work beautifully together. Now, obviously, there's things like a blue cheese or a fresh chev. I believe we had you guys try the Blakesville fresh goat cheese chev, and I had it
Mhm.
drizzled with a little bit of honey on top. Honey's going to go beautifully with anything like that fresh chev, any of those blue cheeses, anything sweet, right, is going to pair really beautifully. Where if you have a washed rind cheese that has a little more funk to it, you're going to want to do more of like the cornichons, a little bit of a cured meat with that. So you'll kind of find that people will pair things on the platter that fit their flavor palette. And I always tell people it's very interesting. If you watch people around a charcuterie board, they're going to tell you a whole lot about themselves. There's always that one person that wants to dive in and steal the entire chunk of honeycomb off the top of the
Yeah.
cheese and not share it with anybody. Noted on who you are, right? Um, so it's a fun observation exercise as well. If you make a charcuterie board, I'm telling you, take the first 5 or 10 minutes and just observe what people are doing and what they're taking, and you're going to learn a little bit more about that person.
That's funny. I can imagine having a party and not telling them that you're observing them and then
Exactly.
let me tell you about you.
Yeah,
That's funny.
exactly.
Do you ship your products outside of Wisconsin?
I am in the process of figuring out the best way to do that. I actually have a meeting here this weekend to attempt to find a solution to that, because I would like to start doing that. We have these baseball hats that just say cheese, period. We're actually in the process of trademarking our cheese, period, on our hats, our sweatshirts. And we get a lot of people reaching out saying, I would love one of those cheese hats. Can you ship? I'm like, yes, I'm going to get this done before the holiday season this year. We're going to be able to ship stuff.
Great. That's awesome. Okay, so then at this point in time, that leaves people with the wonderful opportunity to come into your shop and meet you. And it's a lovely setup that you have there. So people could conceivably come in and buy cheese and some other items and have a picnic while they're there in Green Bay, right?
Absolutely. We have a lot of people come through. There's some that will come in. We've got a little cafe space. So, depending on how busy we are, I'm like, hey, I can bring this cheese in back. I can cut it up. I can add a couple things to it for you and allow them to hang out here, eat some cheese. There's people that are going through, a lot of them are doing road trips and everything. And they're like, okay, what can I break up really easily tonight? And myself and my other employees will take the time, to give you an explanation of this is going to go really nicely with this. I would suggest doing something like this. What's something you really like, you don't like. We'll try to make it as easy as possible for you to come in, enjoy some beautiful Wisconsin cheese with Super Day right here with us. They can grab a lunch. They can grab deli salads or fresh hummus with Michaela Marie Sweets next door. I'm like, go get some macarons or some cookies. Throw those on there too. So we try to make it a full full experience when they stop in.
All right. Yum. I know the group I was with, everybody was really frantically buying stuff. We couldn't do a picnic, but to be able to package up and put in their suitcases and take back
Right.
home with them. So let's wrap up by letting everybody know exactly where you are and your website and all that good stuff so that they can really get to know you and come visit when they're in Green Bay.
That would be wonderful. We love having people visit. Bountifulboardsgb.com is our website. We always have all of our upcoming events, our classes on there. We do have a running list of the cheese that we have in the shop. It's not always up to date as we bring in new stuff every single week, but we try to keep up with that. If you go to at Bountiful Boards GB, You can find us on all the social medias from Facebook, Instagram to TikTok. And we're located in Ashwaubenon. We're about 1 mile from Lambeau Fields. We're located at 2160 Holmgren Way, Suite 103, inside the Revolution Public Market.
Great. Wonderful. Well, all of our podcasts always have an accompanying article with them that's on realfoodtraveler.com. So we will have the little player for this podcast there and some photos and a live link to your website and to your social media and the address and everything. So people can check that out at realfoodtraveler.com and be able to access you that way too. Ashley, you were fascinating in the store, and I just knew that I needed to reach out to you and introduce you to our listeners and our readers, and I was right. This was really awesome, and I do encourage everybody to go in to Bountiful Boards and meet Ashley, and if you do, tell Ashley for sure that you learned about her shop on realfoodtraveler.com, on the podcast and on the site, and buy loads and loads of cheese and experience really a true authentic local flavor of Green Bay and of Wisconsin as a whole. So thank you, Ashley, for being on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having us and for your incredibly kind words. We greatly appreciate it. And a small business here in Green Bay, that's always a beautiful thing, is having someone that wants to help showcase who we are and what we're trying to do and hopefully bring some more eyes to it.
Definitely. Absolutely. As a small business and woman-owned business myself, I am all about that too. So I'm glad we can help. All right. Take care.
You as well.